Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope you all are doing good. In today's video, we are going to start with another topic from chapter Life Processes in Living Organisms part 1, that is process of energy production through aerobic respiration of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. And in the another flow chart, I have shown an anaerobic respiration in living organisms or cell. So we are going to compare basically what is the difference here. Okay, so what we have already seen is lipids, carbohydrates or proteins, whatever the source of energy is, ultimately they get converted into acetyl CoA. Then they undergo Krebs cycle, which takes place in mitochondria and lead to the production of energy along with carbon dioxide and water. Correct? This is what we already know. So if we consider the flow chart, what little bit of difference is that carbohydrates has to undergo glycolysis, then pyruvic acid will be formed, and then ultimately it will be converted into acetyl CoA. Whereas lipids and proteins will get converted into fatty acids and amino acids by, of course, different cycles, and ultimately get converted into acetyl CoA. And the same fate will be there for all the three, whether lipids or carbohydrates or proteins. Followed, and this is called as aerobic respiration because it involves the presence of oxygen in it. Followed, this happens in all the cells of our body. Whereas here, if you see in the anaerobic respiration, glucose will undergo one pathway here, glycolysis, then pyruvic acid is produced, then it will be fermented. Correct? So because of the fermentation, it produces different products like vinegar and vitamins. This particular type of respiration takes place in various microorganisms. Whereas if you see the left side of the figure or the flow chart, glucose undergoes glycolysis, produces the pyruvic acid, undergoes fermentation, with the then it produces alcohol. This process takes place in the cells of yeast, which is a unicellular fungi, right? If you see the right side of the flow chart, you will see glucose undergoes glycolysis, produces pyruvic acid, then undergoes fermentation, finally produces lactic acid. Now this particular type of respiration takes place in erythrocytes, that is red blood cells in the blood, and muscle cells of our body. If you are constantly exercising, right, vigorous exercises, that time the oxygen level in the cell will go down. So without the oxygen, anaerobic respiration is performed, and that is why lactic acid will be produced. Correct? That is why you will feel fatigued, because of the presence of lactic acid in your muscle cells. Followed. So energy production in microorganisms through anaerobic respiration. We have already seen aerobic respiration in our previous videos. Some organisms cannot live in the presence of oxygen. For example, microorganisms. Such living organisms have to perform anaerobic respiration for energy production. Glycolysis and fermentation are two such steps to produce. So glycolysis and fermentation are two steps of anaerobic respiration, wherein glucose is incompletely oxidized and less amount of energy is obtained in this type of respiration. Right? There is no complete oxidation, just as in aerobic respiration. Now the pyruvic acid, which is produced through glycolysis, of course the first reaction will be the production of pyruvic acid only. It is converted into other organic acids like other organic acids or alcohol with the help of some enzymes in this process. This process will be called as fermentation. So what is fermentation? Converting pyruvic acid into organic acids or alcohol. Followed, some higher plants, animals and aerobic microorganisms also perform anaerobic respiration instead of aerobic respiration if there is depletion in oxygen level in the surrounding. For example, seeds perform anaerobic respiration if the soil is submerged under water during germination. Similarly, our muscle cells also perform anaerobic respiration while performing the exercise. Due to this, less amount of energy is produced in our body and lactic acid accumulates, due to which we feel tired, as I already explained you. Correct? Now, what type of energy you get from different food components, or what if you have excess amount of energy in your body? So let us see. Excess of the carbohydrates are stored in liver and muscles in the form of glycogen. Proteins are the macromolecules formed by bonding together many amino acids. Now, proteins of animal origin, they are called as first class protein, and you get 4 kilocalories of energy per gram of proteins. So once the proteins are digested, you get amino acids. Now these amino acids will be absorbed in the body and transported to each organ and cell via blood. Now from these amino acids you will get, or your organs and cells will get to produce various proteins which are necessary for themselves and the whole body. Followed. So that is how we are getting energy from the different food components: carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, etc. Right? Now, energy from the different food components, we are going to see how we get. Whatever excess of carbohydrates we have, it will be stored in the liver and our muscles in the form of glycogen, as I already told you this. Now here you can see that different amino acids which can be obtained from different proteins, and they are used to produce proteins of skin like melanin and keratin, which is your nail protein or hair protein. Then amino acids are also utilized in the bones to produce osseous protein, right? Also, they are used to produce various proteins of cell membrane and enzymes, because enzymes are also protein. Also, these amino acids are helping in production of certain hormones like insulin and trypsin, which are produced by pancreas. Then they are also utilized by our pituitary gland, which is also called as master gland of our body, to produce various hormones. Muscles protein are also made up of amino acids. Then in your blood, hemoglobin and antibodies. Antibodies basically are responsible for immunity in your body. All these require amino acids because they are all proteins. Followed, students? Now whatever excess of amino acids we will have, they will be moved out from the body. They will not be stored in the body. They are broken down, and the ammonia which is formed is eliminated out of our body. So whatever ammonia is formed, it will be released through your urine. Okay, this is whatever ammonia will be formed, it will undergo urea cycle, ultimately producing urine in the kidney. So if necessary, excess of proteins are converted into other useful substances like glucose through the process of gluconeogenesis. If necessary, excess of it's repeated. Now excess of proteins, as I said, they will be converted into other useful substances like glucose with the help of gluconeogenesis. Glucose stands for glucose. Neogenesis means you are newly generating glucose. Followed with the help of proteins. Now, an enzyme which is called as rubisco, it is present in the plant chloroplast. It is most abundant protein which is found in nature. So the proteins are everywhere basically, and we need a lot of protein. So for that we require amino acids. Followed? Now moving on to the third substance, that is lipids. The substances formed by a specific chemical bond between fatty acids and alcohol, that is glycerol, are called as lipids. Okay, the substances this is repeated again here. Fatty acids are absorbed up and distributed everywhere within the body. From these fatty acids, different cells will produce various substances necessary to themselves. For example, the molecules which are called as phospholipids. Phospholipids means along with the lipids, phosphate group is attached, which are essential for producing plasma membrane. Plasma membrane is the covering of your cell, okay, are formed from fatty acids. Besides, fatty acids are used for producing hormones like progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, aldosterone, and the covering around the axons of nerve cells, the myelin sheath which you have seen, right? For all the production you need fatty acids, and the hormones as well need fatty acids. Now you get your 9 kilocalories of energy per gram of lipids, which was 4 kilocalorie for proteins. So excess of lipids will be stored in the form of adipose tissue, that is fat cells in your body. Followed, students? So lipids, proteins and carbohydrates, where they are used, we have studied. Vitamins. Now they are a group of heterogeneous compounds of which each is essential for proper operation of various processes in the body. Of course, they don't give you energy, but they are required for the certain processes to take place properly. Now there are main 6 types of vitamins: A, B, C, D, E and K. Out of these, vitamin A, D, E and K, they are fat soluble, whereas vitamin B and vitamin C are water soluble because they can dissolve in water. Now we have seen that FADH2 and NADH are produced in the processes like glycolysis and Krebs cycle, correct? So vitamins like riboflavin, which is a part of vitamin B complex, and nicotinamide respectively are necessary for the production of FADH2 and NADH. Followed. So though they are not producing any energy, they are required, okay, they are required for the production of energy. Followed, students? Water and fibers, of course, another component of our diet. There is about 65 to 70% in water in our body. Each cell contains 70% water weight by weight. Blood plasma also contains 90% of water. The functioning of cells and thereby whole body disturbs even if there is a little loss of water from the body. Therefore, water becomes an essential nutrient. Of course, water does not provide you any energy here, but without it you cannot derive energy. Followed? In fact, we cannot digest the fibers. However, they help in the digestion of other substances and egestion of undigested substances. So for your bowels to work properly, you need a lot of fibers. So from where do we obtain fibers? We obtain fibers from leafy vegetables, fruits, cereals, etc. Of both of them, water as well as fibers, they do not produce any energy in your body, or they are not energy rich, but without that you cannot derive energy. Also, the fibers which cannot be even digested, they remain in your bowels and help in egestion means to throw something out, egestion of undigested substances. Followed, students? I hope you are clear with all the topics of this chapter. Thank you so much for watching the video.